Color mixing and matching doesn't have to be difficult. As a matter of fact, it's a lot easier than making charts. Fun fact, if you were to mix 100 different colors a day, it would take 27 years for you to mix as many tones and shades as the average person can see, because the average person can see about 1,000,000 colors. If you've been working with a color wheel like this, you probably don't have a solid grasp because there's just not enough information on these, and they may be better suited as a Frisbee. So give me just a few minutes of your time and I will explain this in a way that should make it very easy and simple to understand.
This color wheel, obviously, as I've mentioned before, I am not affiliated in any way. This is the real color wheel. What he did when he created this color wheel is he took 36 different hues and he mixed them with the opposite colors to create all of the colors in here. So as you can also tell, yellow is not exactly the opposite of violet. So this is probably the most accurate color wheel that I know of based on pigments that you can download for free and print out. It would be more accurate for you to mix your own color wheel with your own pigments, but that takes a lot of time. And even then, it is just merely a map. It's going to get you in the area of where you need to be. So as I've talked about before, you can create a mixing line. So since these pigments are how the actual pigments mix, you can create a mixing line. A couple things you need to know. If you're going to mix, say, this yellow and an ultramarine blue, which is somewhere down here, you can get greens, but they're only going to be dull greens. Now I have a different blue, which is more over here. So I'm going to mix that blue and yellow. Notice the difference in vibrancy between using an ultramarine blue and a phthalo blue. Taking a violet, which is down here, and mixing it with those yellows. So the farther apart those colors are, the duller they're going to get. And you can take and get a pretty good approximation if you know what your pigment color is, match it up to your wheel, and draw a line across that wheel. It's going to mix those colors that you come across in that line, as we'll show with this red and green here.
Okay, that gives us a basic rundown of our hues. As you move further apart, mixing colors that are further apart, you're going to get darker and duller. If you mix the colors closer together, they're going to keep most of their saturation. As you move up the color wheel, it's going to get lighter. As you move down the color wheel, it's going to get darker. In most cases, there are a couple of outliers like cyan and magenta that are brighter. But if you slice up one of these hues and look at it from the side, each color looks something similar to what we're showing on the screen here. Each color gets different values and different saturations. So how do we get there?
Now, the outer ring is what is known as a tint. Anytime you add white to a color, it is called a tint. Anytime you add gray to a color, it is called tone. And anytime you add black to a color, it is called shade. Why might you want to use a tint, tone, and shade? Well, if you add a gray that is the same value as the color that you have, and this isn't quite that same, let's see. So if you add a gray that is the same value of the color you're working with, you can quickly desaturate that color without changing the value very much. All of the colors you see on this painting here were done with tint, tone, and shade. with the exception of I put my darks in here and I used a transparent paint over the top so as not to cover up this light highlight. For instance, if I take the orange, mix it with some of that gray, see how you got that brownish tone? And of course I would need to adjust that a little more. That's not exact to the picture right now, but that was just a rough guess. So that was just simply orange mixed with the gray, and look how close we already are. Now adding white clearly will lighten that tone. And of course adding black will darken that tone. Now you can adjust those hues using tiny amounts. If you needed to be a little more red, like for instance it is here, we would just add a little bit of red to bring the hue around. The hue and tint, tone, and shade mixing work together.
Now, when going with tint and tone, the white and the gray, of course, you're going to be making your paint opaquer. Opaquer? That's not even a word. Who writes this crap? So the tint and tone are going to be more opaque, and you can get transparent in black, so you can do shading. As a matter of fact, Golden makes a shading gray, which is actually the same as their carbon black with just a whole lot of transparent base in it. While color theory as a whole can be a long process to understand, this basics should give you everything you need to match any color that you need to match. Spend a little time, make you a mixing line, play with the colors a little bit, a couple hours here, a couple hours there. It should not take weeks and months to be able to match any color that you need. Anyway, guys, I'm Bill Kennedy with the Airspace. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, throw me a like, why don't you? And maybe you want to think about subscribing. I'll catch you on the next one. That's going to be a wrap for today. Bye.